Hello and welcome to today's Sunday lecture. Today we are going to review the message from Lantos introducing a new treatment, a new biogenesis session using the sacred sounds pendants, and one that enlivens the great wave of creation and provides you with many different benefits. In fact, let's focus on what Lantos said about those benefits just to begin with. He said, through this simple session, the layers of physical form receive purification and enlivenment. Obstacles are removed. Toxins are released. The great wave is enlivened. This process brings forth waves of light, waves of purity, waves of energy responsible for abundance on the outer material layers of expression. Yes, very good. It is very good. So, this is a treatment that is made possible not just because we have the sacred sounds pendants, but because of the holy season, when we spent those 41 days enlivening the great wave of creation here on earth. This is now a treatment that is available to us because of those things that we did during those 41 days. Let's go through the treatment itself. I'm going to read portion by portion by portion of Lantos's message so that we can see what he says, and then I can explain to you what he said as far as the treatment. Now, in the email that you received with the link for this video, you'll also receive a handout, and that handout is 3 pages long. It is a step-by-step guide to doing this technique, this session. Okay, we start with the beginning of his message. Greetings, dear ones. We welcome the arrival of the great wave of creation. As the wave of fullness curls onto itself, sacred sounds are released. The mist of sea spray scatters as these primordial sounds are issued. These sounds carry the energy and essence of the forms of creation. We will now incorporate these precious sounds into our use of the tools of Genesis. We will begin with intent. We will issue the intent of the session. This may be achieved through the use of the biotranslator or through the spinning of the beloved song. Okay, so there, we always start each session with an intent, and this session is no different. We begin with an intent. He didn't say what the intent should be, so you can use any intent that you want. The great wave is always going to be enlivened through this technique. You're always going to get benefits, but go ahead and add whatever intent you want. Now, you can set the intent using your biotranslator, as you normally do, but what he also said is, or through the spinning of the beloved song. Now, he hasn't actually given us an instruction really on how to do this, but of course, you'll hold the song in your left hand. Just focus on the intent, spin the song. Focus on the intent a second time, spin the song a second time. Focus on the intent a third time, spin the song a third time. We always do 3 times with the song, so even with the intent, focus on the intent, spin the song, and do that 3 times. Now, let's continue. Next, we will place in the hands of the individual a super water cell and super star cell for some time, 2 minutes. After this, we will replace the superstar cell with one of the pendants of inception. Holding the pendant in the right hand and continuing to hold the super water cell in the left hand, we will apply the flame of Genesis around the individual's body using circling motions. If the individual has received the sacred sounds associated with this inception pendant, during this process, the individual will silently issue these sounds as the pendant is held and as the flame passes over and around the physical form. Okay, so what does that mean? Well, it means that for the first 2 minutes, you will hold the super water cell in your left hand, the super star cell in your right hand. You'll remember that's always the case. The super water cell is always in the left hand, the super star cell is always in the right hand. Do that for 2 minutes. After 2 minutes, then you place the inception pendant into the right hand. And you won't hold it with the superstar cell. So you take the superstar cell out of the right hand and put the inception pendant in the right hand. So now the person is holding the super water cell in the left hand and the inception pendant in the right hand. And you use the flame. When you use the flame over the whole body, you will use a circular motion, always circling with the flame, going over the whole body, not just focusing on the inception pendant. And if the person receiving the treatment has received instruction in his or her inception sounds, then that person will use those inception sounds silently, thinking them silently in their mind throughout this part of the session. Now we're going to get into more detail on this, but let's go ahead and continue. Lantos said, we will then exchange the inception pendant for one of the reflection pendants, and the super water cell will be replaced by the superstar cell. The reflection pendant will be held in the left hand while the superstar cell is held in the right hand. Now for several minutes, the wand of Genesis will be applied in circling motions over and around the physical form as the individual silently issues the associated sounds. Okay, so having enlivened the inception pendant, you put the inception pendant away and you put the superstar cell back in the right hand. Now you put the reflection pendant in the left hand. You take the super water cell out of the left hand, put the reflection pendant into the left hand. And now you use the wand of Genesis in a circular motion going all over the body. You can focus on the reflection pendant some, but go over the whole body with the wand of Genesis. And again, I know you have questions on this, but we're going to answer a lot of those questions here in just a moment. Now, Lantos continued and he said, the issuing of the sounds is very gentle, very easy, not to be considered a chore or a task by the individual receiving this blessed treatment of purification and enlightenment. It is an easy, rolling thought. Easily the individual issues the sounds. Silently, the sounds simply come. The individual may repeat these sounds several times during the process. The individual will begin with the Realm Lord. The Realm Lord need only be issued 3 times. Then the sounds may be issued for the remaining period. As the pendant is exchanged again and again, the Realm Lord is issued. 3 times. There is no counting of the number of repetitions of the sounds, only that the sounds may be introduced during this time. It will be very good. Yes, very good. Okay, so when he told us about placing the inception pendant in the right hand, he said if the person has received instruction in the sounds for this pendant, then the person may introduce those sounds at this time. There is a specific way to introduce the sounds during this treatment, and it is different than how we enliven the sounds using the song. It is different than how we enliven the sounds for use with the sacred sounds pendants outside of this treatment. So it gets a little confusing because of that, but it's very simple. Normally, you issue the Realm Lord. Now, for this example, because Lantos does not want us to be speaking the sounds out loud, so for that reason, I'm not going to use an example of actual sounds. I'm just going to say Realm Lord to represent the Realm Lord, and then I'm going to say ABC to represent the 3 sounds for the seed, the sacred sounds. So normally you would think, introduce into your heart and mind, Realm Lord, then you would spin the song, and then you would introduce silently in your mind and in your heart A, B, C. And you'd repeat that 3 times. Realm Lord, spin the song A, B, C. Realm Lord, spin the song A, B, C. Realm Lord, spin the song A, B, C. That's normally how you enliven the sacred sounds, enlivening the seeds using the sacred sounds. Not in this treatment. In this session, it will go this way. Once you place the pendant in the hand, then you introduce silently in your heart and mind, Realm Lord, Realm Lord, Realm Lord. After those 3 times, then you will introduce the sounds, the sacred sounds, A, B, C, A, B, C, A, B, C, A, B, C. And you do that for the rest of the time that you're holding the pendant. And like Lantos said, this is not to be viewed as a task, not to be viewed as a chore, during this time. It should just be effortless. It should be easy. Those sounds of the seed, A, B, C, will just come up again and again and again. A rolling type of motion, completely effortless. And as those sounds come back to your mind, you introduce them in your mind, in your heart, silently, effortlessly. A, B, C, A, B, C, A, B, C. So that is however many times it is. You don't bother keeping track of how many times you've done it. You don't think, wow, that's 8 times so far that I've done it. No, it's just you do it effortlessly for the rest of the time that you're holding that pendant in that hand. Then, when you exchange the pendants, you put the next pendant in your other hand. Then you go back to the Realm Lord and you introduce the Realm Lord 3 times. So it's Realm Lord, Realm Lord, Realm Lord. And then you move on to the sacred sounds for that pendant associated with that pendant. A, B, C, A, B, C, A, B, C, for as long as you're holding that pendant. So it is a different way of enlivening the seed through the sacred sounds. This one is different using this session. Then, Lantos said, like this, the pendants are exchanged, alternating inception, reflection, until all 8 pendants have been enlivened. Now that's a little bit confusing because we only have 1 inception and 1 reflection pendant. We checked with Lantos about this. He's referring to all of the primary pendants as inception and all of the reflective pendants as reflection. The gold pendants, the easiest way to think of it is if the pendant is gold, then it's an inception type of pendant. If it is silver, it's a reflective type of pendant. So that means inception, education, love, health. Those are inception type pendants. They're gold, and the reflective ones would then be reflection, success, abundance, and curse. He then continued, when the individual holds the inception pendant, the super water cell is held in the left hand, and the flame is applied. When the reflection pendant is held in the left hand, the super star cell is held in the right hand, and the wand of Genesis is applied in circling motions. So you go through all of the pendants that you have for this treatment. Then at the end of it, he said, when all pendants have been enlivened, the individual rests quietly for 1 or 2 minutes, holding again the super star cell and the super water cell. Okay, so it's a very simple process of just going through all of the pendants. And the gold pendants go in your right hand. The silver pendants go in your left hand. When you hold a gold pendant in your right hand, then you hold the super water cell in your left hand. And you would then use the flame of Genesis. When you have a silver pendant in your left hand, you hold the super star cell in the right hand, and you use the wand of Genesis. Now, how can you go through the treatment easily and not forget this? Because it's easy to get confused with this. Here's a picture. I took this just today so that you'd be able to see an easy way to set up your pendants. Now, it's important to not mix up your pendants. They come to you in boxes that are labeled, and we need you to keep track of which gold pendant is your inception pendant versus the education pendant versus the love pendant versus the health pendant. Because if you mix them up, you're not going to be able to tell which one is which. Now, we can help you with that. If you happen to get your pendants mixed up, just call us, because we have an easy way to figure out which one is which, and we can walk you through that. But it will help you to keep track of which pendant is which. So in the picture, you can see I've just written down the names on little Post-its. And in the right-hand column are the 4 gold pendants, the inception pendants. So again, that's inception, then education, then love, and then health. Then in the left-hand column, you have the reflective pendants, reflection, success, abundance, curse. To remind myself, I have the flame on the right-hand side next to the inception pendants, the gold pendants. And I have the wand on the left-hand side next to the reflective pendants, the silver pendants. And I place the super star cell on the right-hand side and the super water cell on the left-hand side so that I always know what goes in which hand and which tool is used. So you start with the person holding both the super star cell and the super water cell in the left hand, star cell in the right hand. 2 minutes. Well, and actually, I'm sorry, you start by setting the intent with the biotranslator or with the song. After you set the intent, then you hold the super star cell and super water cell for 2 minutes. Then you go ahead and start with the inception pendant. That's that top right one. Hand it to the person in their right hand, which means you have to take the super star cell out of their right hand because you don't have the pendant and the star cell in the hand at the same time. So you take the super star cell out of the person's right hand, hand them the inception pendant. Go ahead and place the super star cell on the post-it that says inception, because that will remind you what's supposed to happen at the end of this moment, of this period of time where you're enlivening the inception pendant. And since the flame is on the right-hand side, you remember to use the flame. So use the flame all over the body in a circling motion. How long do you do this for? Well, that is entirely up to you. If you did only 3 minutes for each of the pendants and you had all 8 pendants, that's 24 minutes. Adding 2 minutes at the beginning, 2 minutes at the end with the super star cell and super water cell. So now that's an extra 4 minutes, so 28 minutes, setting the intent, going back and forth with the pendants. You're looking at a 30 to 32 minute long treatment right there. And that's just with 3 minutes for each pendant. So it's up to you how long you do it. It is a wonderful session. My brother and I have been giving this to each other over the last few days, and we both love it. It is a great session. You're going to really enjoy it. And you may want to do 4 minutes on each pendant, or even 5 minutes on each pendant if you want to do a longer session. But if you do just 3 minutes, that's a half-hour long session, just to keep in mind. Once you finish those 3 minutes with the flame, then you set the flame back down on the right-hand side where it was, and you realize you've got that super star cell on the inception post-it. So you take the super star cell and go back to the person, take the inception pendant out of their right hand, hand them the super star cell again. Put the inception pendant back on the post-it that says inception so that you don't get it mixed up. Then you take the reflection pendant, the one to its left. Take it over to the person, hand it to them to hold in their left hand, and you take the super water cell out of their left hand. Put the super water cell back on the post-it that says reflection. And then the wand is on the left-hand side, so it reminds you you're supposed to use the wand in a circling motion around the body. So you do that for 3 minutes. And then you continue this process going through all of the pendants. Always do them in pairs, which means inception and reflection are done, and then education and success, and then love and abundance, and then health and curse. And you always start with the gold pendant and then finish with the silver pendant. So keep it in that order and always start with the gold, finish with the silver pendant. And again, when the person is introducing the sounds are always the sounds that are associated with that particular pendant. So with their inception pendant, their inception seed, or with their reflective pendant, their reflection seed, their health seed, their curse seed. If they've received instruction in all of those seeds, then they use those particular sounds, each sound as pertains to each respective pendant. Now, what happens if someone doesn't have all of their sounds, or in fact any of their sounds? Can that person still receive this treatment? Yes, that person can. We know this because Lantos specifically said if the individual has received the sacred sounds associated with that pendant during this process, the individual will silently issue these sounds. So that means that even if the person has not received any of their sacred sounds, that person can still receive the benefits of this treatment. The benefits will not be quite as great as if they do have those sounds, but they will still get great benefits from this session, even without issuing the sacred sounds. So that's another great aspect of this treatment. Anyone is able to receive the benefits from it, even someone who has not yet been instructed in their personal sacred sounds. Okay, so this is a wonderful treatment. You're going to love it. A couple of points on it. First off, this treatment requires 2 people. You cannot hold the pendant in one hand, super star cell in the other hand, super water cell in the other hand, and use the flame or wand on yourself. Someone else is going to have to use the flame or the wand over you when you're receiving your treatment. You may not have anyone in the household who is able to give you the treatment or who is willing to give you the treatment, as the case may well be. If that's the case, find a friend who is willing to, and at least once or twice a week, try to set aside an hour where the 2 of you can meet up and give each other this treatment. You're going to love it. If that just isn't possible, and we have some of you in very isolated areas around the world where that's just not going to be a possibility. If you happen to know someone who has biogenesis tools and wants to do this as well, then have them do a distance treatment on you. We're going to get these instructions from Lantos as far as the very best way to do this section at a distance, but for the time being, you would hold the tools in your hands. So you would hold the superstar cell, super water cell, and the pendants in your hands, while the other person would use the flame or the wand in a circling motion over your photograph. And then when you're done with receiving your session, you would do the same thing for that person. You would use the flame or the wand over that person's photograph while that person is holding the tools. You would need to be on the phone with them the whole time. You could do it, on a Zoom meeting, or you could just call each other and put your phones on speakerphone so that you don't have to be holding the phones up. And then just let the person know, okay, 3 minutes is up, let's move to the next pendant. Because you have to coordinate with the person to make sure that, the person using the flame is using the flame while one of the gold pendants is in the right hand. And they're using the wand while one of the silver pendants is in the left hand. So that is the easiest way right now to try to do a distance treatment with this. We'll get more information, more instructions for you on that, and I may have that for you on Wednesday. But for right now, go ahead and download, print up the step-by-step instructions. It'll guide you through every step of this special new session to enliven the Great Wave and to enliven these aspects in your life. Okay, everyone. Thanks for joining me today. Have a great day, and I will talk to you on Wednesday.